You've got it locked to New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1, New York. HTLA Radio 1.
HTLA Radio 1 in New York City proudly presents Crash Talk.
Ladies and gentlemen, HTLA 97.3 FM in New York proudly presents rock superstar Crash Jesus.
Yes, there you go, Crash Talkers. Yes, another fine edition of Crash Talk here on HTLARadio1.com. Yes, there it is. Thank you for the great warm opening there, Don Pardo. And, yeah, what's he got cooking this week, gang? Well, let's see. I'm not going with the Ebola thing. Nope, covered that. Yeah, that's done, and, well, really a waste of time. Yeah. I think, nationally, across the United States, there has been far more effort in wagging our jaws about the word Ebola in recent weeks than the actual effort to combat the actual outbreak in West Africa. Yeah, so think about that for a second and balance that scale. Now, I'll give you that the media, yes, the lovely, the Fox, yes, the TMZ, the CNN, the TMZ, they've got lots of Ebola news. Yes. Finally hand-tooled Corinthian tobacconist product. Tattoo, here comes the plane of cigarettes. And mighty fine Tim Hortons coffee, I must say, and I must also mention that. What must I mention, gang? Tonight's episode is...
Powered by Procast.
That's right, Kate. Thank you very much. And, so you're tuned to HTLA Radio 1 New York at HTLARadio1.com. 70 degrees and a drizzling in Central Park tonight. Really, really unseasonably warm weather the last, 3 days, I guess. 70 degrees at 5 in the morning yesterday. Yeah, go figure that one out. Anywho, not complaining over here. Nope. What do you think about the weather, kids, huh? Yes, I like it too. Christmas, you can just take your snow and stay the heck away. Go to Florida or something. Yes, no, tonight is not going to be about Ebola. No. It's also not going to be about Obama. Ebola? Obama? Obola? Interesting. And his fight against is. No. Interesting little note about that, though. This week, actually, in the New Yorker, there was a poll conducted. And the question of the poll for the week was, do you trust President Obama to fight is? Yeah. Did you know that 49% of the people who took that vote, which was 15,411 people to date, including yours truly, I voted too, voted non-confidence, not at all. Yes, do we trust the man to fight ISIS? However you want to pronounce that fun name. So not really a whole lot going on over there either, except, of course, the relentless media propagation of fear. Yes, those ISIS sand spiders are going to come over and get us when we're sleeping, much like that Ebola outbreak in West Africa is going to get you in your homes in Vermont or Virginia or Connecticut or... Hey, let's go the other end. Texas. Oh, well, there's one there, Crash. No, now there's two. Oh, my God, yes, the nurse who was taking care of the first guy who died licked his sores or gave him anal sex or something, and now she's got it. Yeah. Well, my only advice for people out there listening to my voice all across the globe, from here in the big city, the Big Apple, is don't lick people's orifices and you'll be okay. That's really the bottom line. And, I mentioned, I think last week or the week before, that there was a heck of a lot more traffic on the download section at Netflix for the Outbreak movie with Dustin Hoffman and all those fine people in that movie about the monkey and the virus and the outbreak and the virus mutating and going airborne. Interesting little tidbit I pulled from Mr. Kevin Kierstead on his show yesterday was that the CDC website itself, and yes, I did go and confirm this, down at the bottom of the main page of the website, there is actually the question, what are the chances of Ebola mutating to airborne and causing a real outbreak problem in the continental United States? And the fine scientists at the CDC responded to the question with, the number is so low, it's too low to calculate. So in other words, pretty much non-existent. But that's not what Wolf Blitzer and the boys over at CNN would have you believe there with their 24/7 Ebola coverage, would it? No. What do we think about the old Wolf Blitzer there, kids? Yeah.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
Beep. There you go, Louie. I'll do a couple ahead of time if you're going to keep doing that. Yeah. Oh, there it is. No, tonight's show is none of the above. No, we're not going there. We're going to something else that I dug out of the news vaults here yesterday that I'm going to absolutely say that I'm steaming about. Steaming. How do I put this?
I think it should be short and sweet.
Okay.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
Okay, there we go. All right. Well, short and sweet. How do I put this shortly and sweetly, though? You see, this is something that is so anti-American. Yes, and this is coming from a Canadian. This is so anti-American. It's heinous in its origins. It's unbelievable and unfathomable in its expectations, and it's gaining momentum. It's gaining popularity almost faster than Ebola. And when I tell you what it is, I think the majority of the people listening to my voice listen to it regularly, so you kind of share my outlook and opinions on these things. You're probably going to be so outraged you're going to call your congressman or go kick down the senator's door and have some words with him at 4 o'clock in the morning with his wife and him in bed at gunpoint. And I'm not really kidding. that's the sad thing about this. I'm not kidding. Long and the short, I'm just stunned. There is a growing movement in the United States of America at this very moment that the Defense Department is actually seriously considering, and it was stated in the press early this morning that the Defense Department indeed wants to implement this. And so you're like, well, what the hell are you talking about? Defense Department? What does that got to do with the price of eggs and Ebola? Well, not too much. But it has to do with, I'm going to say, Americana on the whole. I'm going to say that this potential action by the U.S. government and the Defense Department is something so absolutely anti-American that I would venture to say that if this was in the 1940s, 40, 41, 39, somewhere in there, somewhere around that evil Adolf Hitler time, this would have been something that he would have absolutely loved. And I can probably guarantee you that the war would not have gone quite the way it did because of what I'm about to tell you. And it's not mainstream news. This is on like page 6 of the New Yorker, and, I think the National Review's running it as well. That's it. I could find no mention of this anywhere else, but yours truly, being who I am, went and verified from several sources, including a spokesperson directly on the telephone today with me from the Defense Department, which did indeed confirm their want and initiative to do what I'm about to tell you they're going to do. And before I tell you this, I need to tell you that what it is that they're planning on completely getting rid of is something that is so embedded in this culture since, I would venture to say, the 1930s, that it almost goes hand in hand with the red, white, and blue and, the boy and his dog and mom's apple pie. I just can't fathom and understand where this is coming from, but giving that a couple of minutes to sink in this morning, I was thinking, I know exactly where this is coming from. This is coming from 20-something PCers. Yes, I know. I'm going the PCers thing again, kids. Yeah. Oh, the damn PCers. They're worse than ISIS. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Well, and the reason I say that is because clearly this has to be from a group of individuals who has really no concept of American history, so that's anybody 25 years old and younger, because they don't get taught it anymore in school. It's got to be somebody who really doesn't care about the country as the nation that it once was and have any interest in getting it back to where it bloody should be. So that's 25 and under. And, I could go on. But really here, I'm just going to have to come out and say this because it's so ludicrous. It's just absolutely. I can't find the words. It's far beyond ridiculous. This thing that some unnamed group wants the government and the Defense Department to do, in which the Defense Department is now displaying intentions to do exactly that. And what is it, you may ask? Oh, Crash, the wise. At 13:30 into the show almost. Well, how hard should it be, do you think? And I'm going to tell you because in the last 10 hours, I have received over 668 emails from you, my listeners out there, in complete, pure outrage about this when I posted it on Facebook today. I'm going to read you some of those, too. But how hard should it be for a soldier today in America's modern army, stationed in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria now, North Korea whenever we feel like it, never mind all the bases around the world. Never mind the 7th Fleet. Never mind the entire Navy stationed all over the world. Never mind the Marine bases all over the world. All of the embassies all over the world where military personnel are stationed. The Defense Department wants to ban cigarette sales on bases and ships and U.S. military installations worldwide. Now, just let that sink in for a minute. Yeah, I know, kids. You need your smokes. I know.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
Beep you again there, Louie. Yeah, no. Growing up as a kid, John Wayne war movies. I loved those things. And every grunt in the trenches had what? They had a Tommy gun and a smoke hanging out of their mouth. Huh? Right up through to modern day, Apocalypse Now was filled with smokers. There was so much smoke you almost couldn't see Han Solo. Yes, those filthy smokers. But there's also those brave smokers too, isn't there? How about Saving Private Ryan? How about Band of Brothers? God, everybody had a cigarette. I think even Ron Howard was smoking during the filming. I'm pretty sure. It's just the manly thing to do when you're out there equipped with weaponry to kill other human beings. You pick up a smoke. And we're actually going to hear from one veteran in particular in the report here who isn't a smoker at home, but when he's abroad and deployed to a war zone, he admits he smokes. And it's just what they all do. And the Defense Department and the U.S. government is planning on banning all tobacco sales on bases, ships, and military installations globally. That means that all you boys, and girls and homosexuals out to sea are kind of boned. Yeah, no smokes for you. And that also means that all you airmen and air girls and air homos are all out there in all your air bases not smoking. At least, not on base, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Man, where do I start? When our boys light up, quote, the Bull Durham Tobacco Company assured customers in 1941 that, quote, the Huns will light out, end quote. And so for years, tens of millions of cigarettes later, they did. Wow. From the mud and steel at Argonne and Bellewood through the rubble-strewn streets of Fallujah, the most iconic photographs of war ever and movies have invariably featured cigarettes. Even as far back as World War I, before the 30s, the British government noticed that almost every letter from the front contains a request for something to smoke. In Korea, Camel sought to establish itself as the brand of choice for the discerning infantrymen in the 50s. And even within the last decade, the tabloids have designated American forces as butt-kicking Marlboro men, end quote. As American soldier Kobe Bazell explains, for many soldiers, cigarettes and war are inseparable. Unlike what you see in the recruiting commercials, Bazell recalled, most of wartime is spent doing nothing except waiting to be told by someone what to do, and if you can't find any tobacco, whiling away the hours with a smoke and a joke. That's what you do. The tradition, however, is under attack. In the 1980s, President Reagan's defense secretary at the time ordered the military to arrange, quote, an intense anti-smoking campaign at all levels of all services, end quote. Under President Clinton, servicemen were barred from smoking in government-owned facilities, and now, if the powers that be get their way, Bazell's inseparable partners may become even further estranged. In an effort to curb high smoking rates, Politico's Jerry Herb recorded on Monday, Congress and the Defense Department are mulling over a potential plan on selling tobacco products, cigarettes, cigars, and chewing tobacco on military bases and ships. The idea's progenitor, Chuck Hagel, is not messing around. A department-wide review is already underway, and should the Department of Defense decide to go through with the alteration, the fight could flare up as early as the lame duck congressional session. This is an issue of discernment and not of first principle. There is, of course, no question that the DoD can follow through with the proposal should it so wish, for in the military, Concerned Veterans for America's Pete Hegseth tells us, everything can be sold under the auspices of health and welfare to the troops. Hegseth is absolutely correct. As anybody who has lived in a country with socialized medicine can attest, behavioral controls are the indisputable consequence of heavy government involvement in the economy and the unavoidable hallmark of any organization run by the state. Once one accepts, the taxpayers are responsible for the consequences of one's behavior, one must also expect that they have some license to govern that behavior in a way that is deemed necessary. Exactly what authorities will elect to regulate will depend on the prevailing mood of both the electorate and the culture at large. Sometimes this will appear capricious and irrational. What the majority likes today, it will be happily subsidized. What it does not like, it will prohibit, but either way, regulate it will. My house, my rules, as the old saying goes. Now, one does not join the military in order to be free. By dint of their nature and their purpose, the armed forces cannot be anything other than a creature of the state. You know, when you sign up, Hegseth tells us, that you're going to give up a certain amount of autonomy. Still, that soldiers are expected to be obedient by no means renders the sensible each and every order that they are given, nor, for that matter, does it imply that all decisions taken in the name of the greater good will be devoid of meddlesomeness and micromanagement. As with any socialized institution, the military is a veritable magnet for busybodies and for dreamers, some of whom will make worthwhile adjudications, some of whom will not. Prohibiting personnel from purchasing tobacco on ships and bases and installations, Hegseth suggests, falls firmly into the latter camp, representing a broader trend of social engineering. Now, that's a scary quote. A broader trend of social engineering. That is born of the same instinct that has seen the introduction of green fuel and the banning of trans fats. Ideas that gain currency among elites in civilian life, Hegseth explains, permeate the decision makers in Washington. Before long, the military, in other words, is their sandbox. Well, this is then the question of a delicate trade-off. Smoking is unequivocally bad for one's health, yes. But in free countries, at least, we tend not to permit this fact to end our calculations. Instead, we balance what we know about the consequences of tobacco use with other equally important ideas. Among them, our desires to limit the power and scope of the government and to protect the rights of individuals to choose their own fates. What do you think about choosing your own fates, kids? Huh? Yeah. I like it, damn it. Yeah, Mark, pass out some smokes to the kids, eh? Oh, you gotta love it. I love it. All right, well, we're going to have to go for a quick commercial break here, and when we come back, more talk of crash, as in our society. Back in 2 minutes, gang.
You're listening to Crash Talk with Christopher John Taylor, a.k.a. Crash Jesus, on HTLA Radio 1, New York.
The apocalypse is coming. Will it be aliens, zombies, or a global financial meltdown? Whatever it is, you need to be prepared. Get your complete apocalypse kit at Ammunition. Contains foodstuffs and alcohol for 3 months. A massive array of armaments. Water purifier so you can drink your own urine. And cyanide pills so you can go out like a man. Don't dial 911. Dial 357. Ammunition. Protecting your rights.
You want your kids to be safe, so you give them a mobile phone. What are they going to do when they get attacked? Throw it at someone? Why not force the state to keep us all protected by arming everybody? The senile old lady in her home, the 3-year-old on the playground, the priest in his church. We think everybody should carry weapons at all times. That way nobody gets hurt. It's a proven fact. Where there's more guns, there are less shootings. Vote Vote yes on Proposition 45. Mandatory concealed carry for everybody. The nuclear deterrent won the Cold War. Let's use the same logic and win the war on crime. Proposition 45. Teach your kids to protect themselves.
It was 9 a.m. The phone rang.
Commando Pest Eradication. You saw a bug on your child's apple? Code red, boys. We got a live one.
Your home, much like the rest of the world, is infested with unwanted vermin. Commando Pest Eradication will wage war on nature, so you don't have to.
Hello, ma'am.
Thank God you're here. I saw a bug in the kitchen.
You did the right thing, ma'am. We'll take it from here. Everything's gonna be okay.
Commando Pest Eradication uses only the most lethal chemicals to rid your home of unwanted life. Our team is composed of military-trained professionals that know how to take care of a messy situation fast. After successfully defoliating Vietnam, we've turned our attention to the home front. Your home front.
We've got the situation in the kitchen contained, sir. But I found this. Jesus, what the hell is this?
That's my daughter.
Looks more like Viet Cong to me.
Commando Pest Eradication. We kill everything in sight, so you feel safer. It's the war on nature, and this time, we're winning.
If only the world was less like this.
I could use a smoke.
Hey, put that out.
And more like this.
I could use a smoke.
You murderer! I might have children one day!
Smoking kills, unless you kill first. If you're around a smoker, you will die. Smokers may look relaxed and like they're having fun. Don't believe it. Vote yes on Proposition 421. Let's outlaw smoking everywhere, even in people's homes, and allow honest citizens to legally kill anyone who smokes. Let's live in a world without smokers. Prohibition works. Let's prove it. Let's move up the food chain. It's time to smoke the smokers. Vote yes on Proposition 421.
You're listening to Crash Talk with Christopher John Taylor, a.k.a. Crash Jesus, on HTLA Radio 1, New York.
Yes, you are. You are listening to the old Crash on Crash Talk here from HTLA Radio 1, New York. And just a little side note here. I don't know. I've been getting a lot of traffic on the new website lately. If you haven't been, you should check it out. It kind of defies all the rules of all the other websites. Oh, yes, it does. It's kind of like that first airplane the Wrights put together there and defied gravity. Yeah, well, our new website kind of defies all the regular, usual rules of the internet and turns them on their ear. So you might want to check that out. You can go see it at HTLA-radio1.com. And it is still 70 degrees in the park with a nice, it's almost like a spring shower. It smells really nice out, too. 70 degrees and nice showers in the park right now. And, what can I say? The bums are getting, The bums are getting cleaner. There we go. Now.
I think it should be short and sweet.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it short and sweet then.
It's about fucking time. Move on.
Oh,
Move on.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, I gotta beep that. If I don't beep it, I get in trouble. There we go. A couple more. There we are. Mother Jones. Well, before the break, we were talking about how the PCers now want to take away cigarettes from our fighting men and women and homosexuals. Back in the day, Clint Eastwood, Yul Brynner, the real manly men actors, John Wayne, remember him? Yeah. Lee Van Cleef. That's right. Real men. Don't even leave out Paul Newman. Real man. And what about Mr. Redford? I don't have to qualify Mr. Redford with the words real man, do I? No. And what do we got today? We've got a bunch of feminized, prissy guys who overdose on NFL on the weekends because their penises have shrunk down to the size of peas because Their wives have them firmly under control. Oh, I should say wives, girlfriends, common law. Yeah. Also, the opinions of myself, Crash Talk, are not necessarily those of HTLA Radio 1 New York. But you knew that already signing up. That's right. Mother Jones. Smoking is, I'm just going to recap this from before the break. Smoking is unequivocally bad for one's health. Yes. But in free countries, at least, we tend not to permit this fact to end our calculations. Instead, we the people, thank you, balance what we know about the consequences of tobacco use with other equally important ideas. Among them are desires to limit the power and scope of the government and to protect the rights of individuals to choose their own fates. Except for the draft, but we won't go there. Similar computations apply within the military context, too. Cigarettes, Mother Jones claims, kill more soldiers and sailors than wars do. Oh, that's a good one. Can I swear now? No. Right. Sure. Yeah. I don't know where you're pulling your numbers there from, Mom, but wrong. Let's wake you up a bit, Mom. We're ready to go into round 2 here. Yeah, Mother Jones. Yeah, crack smoking retards. That's all I'm going to say about that. Cigarettes kill more soldiers than wars do. Oh, but here's the part that you're really going to like. Costing taxpayers billions. Yes, that's my movie trailer voice. Billions. This Friday, billions will die. Yes, it kills more soldiers and sailors than wars do. Wow. Okay, let me qualify my wowness here, okay? Vietnam? No. Korea? No, sorry. World War II? Nope, sorry, not even close. No chance. Bye-bye. Stupid shit like, I don't know, Grenada. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. Sure, okay, I'll accept that smoking killed more soldiers and sailors during that time in our short stint in Grenada. I'll give you that. There you go. Mogadishu? Yeah, I'll give you that one too. I'll give you that, sure. Steaming our 7th Fleet towards North Korea? No, not during that time. I think more soldiers and sailors tripped on bulkheads and, door nuts and the like, whatever they call those things on a boat. I don't know. I'm not a sailor. Damn it. Boat nuts. There we go. Tripping on boat nuts. No. So I don't know where they're getting their numbers from. Maybe, okay, here's an idea. Maybe they're talking about, I don't know, the last 12, 15 years we've been squatting in Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, just sitting around waiting for a bunch of bearded assholes to come and blow a few of us up in a convoy every once in a while. Okay, I might give you that, Mother Jones, but that's all, because all those other wars, you wrong. Yeah. So, that is certainly a real problem, but so is asking a young man to pick up a rifle and risk his life for his country, while depriving him of the opportunity to obtain a package of cigarettes or chewing tobacco. Deprivations, after all, tend to be relative, small hardships being felt especially keenly by those living lives of austerity. For so many soldiers, Hagseth tells us, cigarettes represent one of those small conveniences that make life at the front a little more bearable. He says, I'm not a smoker, but I was a deployment smoker. It matters when you're on patrol and there's nothing to do. What of the What of the stereotype, thank you, of the exhausted, muddy-faced recruit with a lucky strike hanging out of the corner of his mouth? Is that still relevant? Yes, Hegseth says, emphatically. Were limitations to be imposed upon the purchase of tobacco, he tells us, we would see outrage from those deployed. For example, he continues, alcohol is already completely banned. This would be very poorly received. Put another way, Hegseth suggests this isn't coming from the rank and file, the trigger pullers, or the infantry. It's coming from leadership with too much time on their hands. On ships where supplies would be even harder to get, you'd see care package after care package chock full of cigarettes, he suggests. Yeah, in our technocratic, data-happy age, we often accord too little time to thinking through the incalculable and the abstruse, preferring instead to reduce the naughtiest of questions to the sum of their own parts. It is relatively straightforward to present a compelling case in favor of cutting healthcare costs, diminishing institutional liability, and preventing the onset of horrifying disease. But to qualify and judge the more amorphous values at stake in this question requires quite another skill indeed. How does one begin to calculate the sacrifice of morale? Which of the small conveniences is serving as the thumb in the dike? And who knows better what they need within a unit of fighters? Those throwing the grenades or those ordering the supplies? Whether or not the lighting of a Bull Durham really helped the GIs to send the ambitions of Hitler to some unknown place, but who among us is really ready to risk it the next time? Very important point, don't you think? You know, I'm just going to kind of look back at the last, I guess I'm going to take a chunk of the last 20 years. 20 years in the military. What have we seen there? Well, first thing we've seen is the gays. That's right, the homosexuals. Yep. Gotta have gays in the military. Gotta have gays in the military. Pressure, 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 pressure by all those PCers. And we've got homosexuals in the military now. Of course, the press would like you to think that we always did. Oh, they were always there. They were just hiding. Well, call me strange and silly, but a good, very good trademark of a soldier is the ability to hide. When you openly introduce homosexuals into the military and it's open and everybody's having a goddamn parade about it, what does that do to the morale of your fighting men? Because in this country, the United States of America, we have more than our fair share of young fighting men that are very good at their jobs. And no, I'm not going to talk about Delta Force and the SEAL teams and all that good stuff, because you know that already. I'm talking about our U.S. Army grunts, our U.S. Marines, hell, our pilots. Absolutely. Every single one of those individuals well-trained, and they know that they're there to take life. They fight in wars. That's what they do. So, what did that do to morale when now they're fighting side by side with a bunch of homosexuals who are having parades and wearing pink under their green? Well, I don't know, because I'm not an active serving military member. If I was, and trust me, if I was born in this country, I bloody well would have been. If I was, I would have a real problem with that, and not so much for some of the reasons you might think. Is it the parades? No. I could care less. What is it? Well, geez, maybe if... Well, see, and this goes to really understanding homosexuals too, doesn't it? You've got to understand them. You've got to get inside them. Oh, did I say that?
It's about fucking time. Move on.
All right. Let's forget I said that. Okay. No, but do you know what I'm saying? A lot, I'm not going to say all, but a lot of homosexual men that I know and have been in contact with in my life as friends and lovers, yes, you have your tough guy kind of homosexuals, and then you have your effeminate male homosexuals, and then of course with the women you have your your bull dykey kind of in charge and large and all that stuff, and then you have your submissive, right? But we didn't have to worry about that until we let the women in the military, which of course we did, and then of course it was only a matter of time after that where we got to let the women into the actual war zones. Yeah, they can fight alongside of the men, and that'll work. That'll work out really well. I'm not going to throw the show off by going into all the statistics about extramarital affairs with other personnel within the military now within units deployed, because that wouldn't be fair to the wives and husbands stateside, knowing that their husband, wife, significant other, what have you, is over there getting it on with anybody else, because stuff like that happens in war zones because it's a very stressful environment. It's not like you just go roll out to the bar at the end of the week there on a Friday night and just pound a 40 a jack and go home and pass out and everything's fine again. No. The stress is 24/7. It's every minute of every day. It doesn't go away. You're in a war zone. So that's causing all kinds of problems. But I won't go there either because the show's not about that. Although all you men and service women out there who are sitting there right now going, Crash, you son of a bitch, I'm going to... I promise you we will have a show exactly about this, but not today. No, because we're going to go for a commercial break, and when I come back, my last segment is going to be about some of the mail I got today. Like I say, just in the last 10 and 3/4 hours here from you all, about 700 pieces of email so far still coming in, commenting on this ridiculous thing. No smoking, my... Yeah, well, there it is. So we'll be back in 2 minutes, gang. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Crash Talk with Christopher John Taylor, a.k.a. Crash Jesus, on HTLA Radio 1, New York.
We're going to take a break. Don't touch that dial.
Too fat and lazy to come pick up a bazooka? Log on and have it at your door the next morning. Log on to ammunition.net. Try our motion-sensitive cluster bombs and shoot-to-maim automated firing gun turrets, which come ready to assemble in 284 easy parts. Ammunition.net also has a full line of generators so you can keep your fridge running and the beer cold through extended apocalypse. Need to stock up fast? The strongest will survive with our all-in-one Y2K kit featuring a tractor-trailer load of lager beer, Redwood cigarettes, and enough firepower and ammunition to level a small country. Jesus, Y2K, it's coming, and you'd better be ready. Log on to ammunition.net now. Protecting your rights online.
If only the world was less like this.
I could use a smoke.
Hey, put that out.
And more like this.
I could use a smoke.
You murderer! I might have children one day!
Smoking kills, unless you kill first. If you're around a smoker, you will die. Smokers may look relaxed and like they're having fun. Don't believe it. Vote yes on Proposition 421. Let's outlaw smoking everywhere, even in people's homes, and allow honest citizens to legally kill anyone who smokes. Let's live in a world without smokers. Prohibition works. Let's prove it. Let's move up the food chain. It's time to smoke the smokers. Vote yes on Proposition 421.
Until death do us part.
Gosh, I remember that day like it was yesterday. Jennifer looked so beautiful. I knew I'd love her forever. And then she was driving along a canyon and her brakes went out. Well, I'm moving on now and remarried someone half my age. God, I love banging her. I started my life over with Crimson Executive Spouse Indemnity Services. Life can be uncertain, and you never know when your wife will be tragically taken away. Crimson set me up with a huge life insurance policy on my wife. I can't have her back, but now I have a second home.
I was devastated when I found out my wife was cheating on me, and even more so when she fell underneath the train. I was nowhere near at the time, and my phone records proved that. My life changed forever. I was a real mess for hours. Thankfully, the week before, I'd met with Crimson. Thanks to Crimson, I've had a penile augmentation and am much more confident with women. Thank you, Crimson.
To have a Crimson Planning for the Future kit faxed to you, just dial 1-866-505-CRIM.
If only the world was less like this.
I could use a smoke.
Hey, put that out!
And more like this.
I could use a smoke.
You murderer! I might have children one day!
Smoking kills, unless you kill first. If you're around a smoker, you will die. Smokers may look relaxed and like they're having fun. Don't believe it. Vote yes on Proposition 421. Let's outlaw smoking everywhere, even in people's homes, and allow honest citizens to legally kill anyone who smokes. Let's live in a world without smokers. Prohibition works. Let's prove it. Let's move up the food chain. It's time to smoke the smokers. Vote yes on Proposition 421.
You're listening to Crash Talk with Christopher John Taylor, a.k.a. Crash Jesus, on HTLA Radio 1, New York.
Yeah. Thank you, Guy. And you are listening to Crash Talk, and yours truly, Chris Crash Jesus Taylor, here on HTLA Radio 1, New York. And yeah, still 70 degrees and raining. The bums are showering. Anyway, you are back and you are listening to No More Smoke for GI. Why, you crazy bastard? Yeah. No more smoking for our fighting man. Nope, don't need it. Well, many of you out there in radio listener land who listen to me all the time have written me. Yes. The first comment I'm going to address today on this issue is from the Bilge Man. As I smoke. Yes. Now, the Bilge Man, I can only assume, is a Navy man. And he says, oh, no. Well, yeah, technically he's Navy. He says, I was a grunt in the Marines. Can't smoke? ? Won't serve! ! Find some other non-smoking teetotaler homosexual to shoot the bad guys for you and stop their bullets for you. Learn Arabic and read the Quran. Out. Well, thank you, Bilgeman. I think that comment is pretty clearly defined, and I am in 100% agreement. And you got to ask yourself the other question, too. Sure, we got the greatest military power in the world, the President of the United States says. He likes to wield that like it's his big black dick. Cheney said that... Oh, no, sorry, that's a different story, Dick Cheney. Yeah. Mr. Glenn Saunders writes, he says, so glad I retired. I won't have to be charged with a violation of the UCMJ now when I tell this administration how far up their asses they can stick their anti-smoking BS. They're reaching too far in their attempt to control the masses. This will blow up in their faces, sure as I'm sitting here defying them. A bunch of liberal ass maggots. And that's a quote and a beep. Can I get a beep? There we go. Ass maggots. Oh, ass maggots. Okay, ass maggots. Okay. Sandra Lemley writes and says, is our commander-in-chief going to quit too? Just saying. Really? Does he smoke? Really? Mr. Obama? Oh, president, sorry. Yes, commander-in-chief going to quit. Okay, well, yeah. Okay, I did not know that. I'm just a dumbass Canadian. What do I know? Jack Langhelt writes, I'm really torn on this issue. Yes, smoking is unhealthy. More importantly, it has an adverse effect on endurance. Those extra few breaths could mean the difference between death and survival on the battlefield. Jack, I'm going to kind of almost disagree with you on that point. You would be more accurate, I think, in back in the Vietnam era. These days, not a whole lot of humping 10 or 20 miles in a day on foot in patrols anymore. No, usually in Hummers, cruising around, getting fat, eating Big Macs, but that's just me. On the other hand, he says, as some others have correctly pointed out, smoking has a calming effect. Duh, why do you think I smoke on the air? I'm intimidated by my peeps. Yes, I'm intimidated by my listeners. There you go. You got it live. You can cut that snippet there and roll it on your show out there somewhere in Radioland. Yeah, he says it could help mitigate PTSD? Question mark? Maybe, possibly. Ultimately, the choice should be left to the individual. Oh, rights? Individual freedoms, Jack? Are you talking really? He says, sure, it's a good idea to help them understand the factors, but trust to their intelligence to make the choices for themselves. Furthermore, banning smoking would add to commanders' chores. One more regulation to enforce. They seem hard put to enforce those already on the books these days. Oh. All right. Well, I'm not going to comment on lazy commanders because I haven't met any yet. And this is from Marcia Hackbar. The liberal crowd would be more likely to support enlisted men and women smoking pot. Somehow, the fact that pot residue is stickier and more deadly to the lungs and heart has escaped them. Somehow, most of all, what is real and true has escaped them. And I couldn't actually agree with you more, Marcia, on that. Absolutely. Dave Thomas says, if we as a society can ask them to charge up a godforsaken hill and take a bullet for us, I think we owe them the courtesy of allowing them to smoke a cigarette. Well, yeah, absolutely, Dave. And you also have to ask the question too. No, I'm not going to do that. I swore I wasn't going to get into the homosexuals and women in the military and in war zones, but that will be coming up. I promise I will do that. But it's exactly that. You're sitting there potentially banning their ability to have a cigarette, which could kill them decades from now. I, as a smoker, started when I was 11 years old. I turned 47 years old yesterday. I take the dog out 3 times a day for a 2-mile walk. I'm up and down, 100-story buildings through the city all day, every day, running around, getting interviews, doing interviews, going to premieres and performances, going to events, going to booked engagements, going to speaking engagements. Man, the list goes on. It's never ending. I get, if I'm lucky, 4 to 6 hours sleep a night. And I smoke just about a pack and 3 or 4 a day. For those of you who don't smoke, there's 20 cigarettes in a package. So yeah, I'm up to about 24 a day now. And it's, and have been for decades. Literally, 36 years. No, 37, 38. I don't know. I can't do math. See, smoking has impeded my ability to do math. There you go. You've got at least that right. Oh, yeah. Ronald Suda says, when I was young, I smoked because I wanted to seem older and more sophisticated. I thought girls who smoked were interestingly wicked. Yes. Those dirty girls that smoke cigarettes do bum sex. Bum sex. Oh, there we go. But I quit the day I got married, he says, 42 years ago, as a promise to my new wife. Of my children, the youngest smokes, and I regularly tell him to stop, but I also know if tobacco disappeared tomorrow, liberals would be brokenhearted, as the drug they inhale as snobism and despising smokers gives them a mighty dose of what they crave. They also despise soldiers, American soldiers in particular, though they can't be quite as open about it, so telling them that they can't have their cigs is the next best thing. The nauseating hypocrisy of it all is enough to make me want to light up. Interesting. Yes, very interesting. I don't know. Mac Carroll writes, I don't smoke, but I would light one up if I could butt it out on these hypocrites' faces. A taxpayer emailed and writes, they're old enough to vote, they're old enough to drink, they're old enough to kill, they can have anal sex. There we go. I don't know if that's beepable or not, but I'm beeping. Let them smoke, goddammit. And Dennis Andrews, you will never eliminate smoking, even if you make it 100% illegal in all 50 states. Just look at illegal drug use now. You will not control the behavior of other people. Sailors will smoke, they will hide it, they will sneak it, and the more laws you make about it, the more people will do it. Where I live, I would estimate 80% of high school kids now smoke because it's been made to look so bad. It's become cool again. Yeah, duh. Connie Cheese writes, agreed, the anti-tobacco people have slipped into reefer madness territory by claiming that even a whiff of secondhand smoke is bad for you, much like that commercial we just rolled there. You murderer. They also have managed to stick it to the poor people by ridiculous taxation. You can bet that teenagers will see it as a cool rebellion to take up. Yay, cigarettes. And isn't it funny that the PCers are actually doing me a favor here, even though I hate to admit it, that they actually are. Did you know, and this is something else I researched today, the smoking percentage of this city, New York City, has actually gone up 8 points in the last 3 years. Yes, it has. The no smoking publicly law came into effect several years before, and the numbers were steadily on decline until they got to roughly 14% of New York's population. And in the last 3 years, for some unknown reason, it's gone on the rise again, and it's now up to 19%. And they're predicting, the people who did the stats for the city are predicting that it's going to rise even further. Well, I think it's probably a good way to look at that, actually, is bringing that cool factor because it's so bad, right? You know, if you're deployed to a war zone, shit gets pretty bad. You know, your friend might die. You might die. You might be replacing guys, girls, or homosexuals who've just died. There's lots of dying. And then, of course, there's the villagers and the women and the children and the little body parts and stuff you find. And, ooh, this is fun. And die. You know, it's all great that you and I, we all sit here and we watch movies and watch people mow down people, 500 people in a machine gun, on a movie. And it's a movie. It doesn't faze us. But, yeah, I can tell you this. When you're standing in a war zone and people are dying for realsies, it's a whole different world, people. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. JC from Tennessee writes, I don't smoke. I never have. I spent a career in the military without ever lighting up a single cigarette or cigar. I hate being around it. I hate the smell. I hate the choice of drink and stink or stay home sober. When it comes to in-town entertainment, all that aside, this is stupid with a capital S. In the civilian world, cigarettes mean taxes. When you're buying on base, you're not contributing to the tax base, but you're contributing to the MWR activities and the commissary and PX overhead. Same deal. If you cut sales of cigarettes, you cut that revenue stream. Soldiers will go elsewhere to get their cigarettes, and while they may endure long times at sea with a few smokes here and there, they will simply buy and bring them on board, again robbing the military of that revenue stream. As another said earlier, in today's military, You can love who you want, but you can't share a smoke after sex. What's next? You can't share a drink either? If what you want is combat automations that pose no risk and follow every order, build some damn robots and let the men and women stay home. Until then, shit can. This stupid idea. Is that a beep? Shit can? Shit? Shit. Wait, I got to get the sync working on that. Shit can. Well, I've only got time for another comment or two, but this is an important one. Jerry Sinner writes, part of the problem is that Madison Avenue advertising worked very hard to implant the idea in Americans' heads that cigarette smoking is masculine. And so there are folks who are practically view a cigarette ban as equivalent to castration. Well, funny you should say that in this age of feminism. Interesting. Goes on, but cigarette use didn't become fully widespread until the 20th century. Prior to that, most real men got along just fine with cigars and chewing tobacco. Well, yeah, okay, same diff. And the actors in those Marlboro Man commercials died of lung cancer and emphysema. Well, you're not correct there. I'm sorry I'm calling you on that, because a personal friend of mine, Chuck Pfeiffer, used to be a Marlboro Man. He's 74 now and just doing fine, thank you very much. In fact, working as executive producer on another feature film. Next window. Also, Tom Selleck. I hate to break it to you, was a Marlboro Man, and he's still kicking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole number of other ones, too. In fact, I'm not even aware of a Marlboro Man who has died of emphysema. Nice story. Next window. Mick Belker writes me, this is the military crash. There are relatively few rights for soldiers off duty or on, and still fewer to those on active battlefield duty. It is severely hierarchical. Yeah, we'll just go with that. Hierarchical. And it is its commanders generally not subject to protest from their respective subordinates. This makes the services the perfect little proving ground for every cockamamie, asinine, and or intentionally harmful idea in social engineering that these morons can dream up. No surprises here. Just pity the soldiers that must function under such a regime while trying to defend our lives and our freedoms. Or demand action from your congressional representatives. Personally, I'd feel a lot better if I knew that nothing was undermining our soldiers' will to fight and save my family, because that is what's really at stake. Just saying. And this is kind of really another point that I'd like to make too tonight. Where do we draw that line? What's more important? We let homosexuals in the military. We let females on the battlefield. Is it really a big deal if we're smoking? I don't see, literally what is next? They already have regulations in the military about your underwear, so you can't wear that, fuchsia G-string or that, red silk boxer you like. No, there's regulation issue for that, soldier, and if you get caught, doing otherwise, then there's ramifications. Let them have colored underwear and smoke. Really, I don't see how it's hurting, but I do see how it's going to hurt if they actually impose this. And it's going to hurt severely because not only, just think about this for a second, not only is it the soldiers that have to deal with this whole emotional thing and this support thing and this camaraderie and brotherhood thing. When you share a smoke, there's a psychological camaraderie thing going on there. You take all that away. What's left? What do you got? You drink out of the canteen together. Is that or is that going to impinge on somebody over here in our stupid PC crap? I think that's probably what it goes down to. And who are we We the people, we the citizens who never see a battlefield, thank God, and never have to go into all this shit and never... Oh, wait a minute. Damn it. And never go into this shit. And you know, we don't have to deal with the things they have to deal with. And they don't just have to deal with them, they have to live with them. And yes, I'm talking about PTSD and when they come back home. You're damn straight I am. You know, you see somebody blown up for real. You actually have to kill somebody for real. That stays with you until that last breath on your deathbed. I hate to break it to you. It doesn't go away. And I just, you know, the VA and all its shortcomings and the mass amount of troops and veterans that are in desperate need of all kinds of services to do with being in a battlefield and having to come home and live with that. You're really going to do the cigarette thing? Really? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, gang, unfortunately, that is all the time I have for this week. Unfortunately, actually, I ran long, so I'm going to get sued by the producer there, Mark. Don't go easy on me, Mark. I've only got 4 cigarettes left. Well, gang, it's been another great Crash Talk. Thank you so much for listening, as always. Thanks to HTLARadio1.com and HTLA Radio 1 New York for having me on again. And thanks to all of you. You keep me doing what I'm doing, so keep me doing all that stuff. Yeah, next week, maybe I'll get into the homosexual female battlefield. I don't know. We'll see you next week.
You've got it locked to New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1, New York.
We are HTLA Radio 1. You will lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. We will add your distinctiveness, your advertisers, and your sponsors to our own. Resistance is futile.